2026 Nigerian Bar Association Annual General Conference in Port Harcourt turned into one of the most anticipated public showdowns of the year as presidential candidates Amaechi, Sowore, Peter Obi, and Rotimi Amaechi faced off in a heated panel debate on fuel subsidy removal. Sowore came out strongly opposing subsidy removal, arguing that it benefits elites rather than the poor, and went straight for Peter Obi's record as Anambra State Governor, alleging that Peter Obi failed to subsidize education during his tenure, leading to lecturers and doctors going on strike for 13 months. Let's watch.
Your position is no.
If there's anyone who has been consistent about non-removal of fuel subsidy, it has been me. And it took Amaechi and his principal almost 10 years to catch up with me. They have now reversed their position on fuel subsidy. The question about subsidy is, who are you subsidizing? You are subsidizing the elite, you are subsidizing the governors. The only people who are doing well since they removed subsidy are the governors of states. And when they talk about subsidy, they make it sound like they have not removed subsidy before. I was a student in 1988. 1989, they removed subsidy. In 1990, they removed subsidy. They said Nigeria will be better. We are in 2026. They are still removing subsidy. They are robbing Peter Obi to pay Bola Tinubu. That is what removal of subsidy is all about. The poor people of this country only benefit from subsidy from petrol, gasoline. There is no subsidy on kerosene. What did they build with it? There's no subsidy on A1 jet fuel. What did they build with it? Please, don't let these politicians lie to you. I love one thing that Amaechi said. He said, apart from Sowore and Abati Ayo, the rest of us have been in government and we have failed. They have no business coming back. Yes. It is. You guys should be apologizing to the Nigerian people. Let me say one more thing.
Stop lying.
Let me say one.
Stop lying, Sowore.
No.
I said no. Judge us by our achievements.
No, I'm adding failure to it.
Say so. Don't put it. Okay.
One other thing I want to say is that when it comes to subsidy, right? Transportation policy is important. We have a former governor of Rivers State here, Amaechi, who built a rail line that went nowhere. If that rail line was working, subsidy would have been working for the people of Rivers State. Okay. I'm not attacking you.
Okay.
But your records are here in Rivers State.
Okay.
And we cannot ignore that those of you who have governed before, who refuse to subsidize your people. Peter Obi did not subsidize education in his state. Lecturers and doctors went on strike for 13 months.
Okay.
You may like him as a person, but he did not perform as a governor. That is the truth.
Okay.
And we can't keep pretending that there's nothing wrong with Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
People have run Nigeria up to this point.
Thank you very much.
I will not remove subsidy.
Thank you.
Because the poor in Nigeria need to be subsidized instead of the rich. We are already subsidizing them with waivers. We are subsidizing their lifestyles. They are driving convoys and big stars and air jets.
Thank you.
We have a duty to return power to the people and subsidize the poor. Thank you very much.
All right, Sowore is doing what opposition politics demands, holding every candidate accountable for their record, not just their rhetoric. Peter Obi's supporters have fired back vigorously online, defending his record as an Anambra State governor and accusing Sowore of misrepresenting the facts. Peter Obi at the same conference reaffirmed his support for fuel subsidy removal, saying that mismanagement of the subsidy savings is not justification for bringing it back, and that the problem is how the proceeds were spent and not the removal itself. Let's take a look.
Well, I subscribe and I maintain that you need to remove subsidy. Mismanagement of the proceed should not be the reason for not removing it. What we should have done is that when we remove subsidy, we would have given the people alternative usage for the subsidy. What we have today is that that removal attendant resources being recovered is also being mismanaged and stolen. For example, we have received, according to them, 16 trillion. We will, I said it before, go to my manifesto and say I will remove subsidy. We'll do it in an organized manner, and whatever we recover will be invested appropriately.
This puts Peter Obi in direct contrast with Sowore and with Atiku Abubakar, who has pledged to restore the subsidy if elected. This is exactly the kind of debate Nigeria needs ahead of 2027. Records scrutinized and positions tested. Now, the NBA conference has generated a flurry of reactions on social media, and we'll take more discussions from other presidential candidates. But first, good morning to everyone on the table this morning. How are you, Dr. Abati, with the Ashoke bow tie? We are matching today, all of us.
All of us.
Yes,
such a blue.
Very nice. Yes. Good morning, Rufai.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Well, all right. You know, I mean, this is obviously the biggest story.
Travel more often.
Yes, I think I want to do that. I'll be out again next week.
More bow tie gifts.
You have to tell everyone. You know I love your bow ties. Yeah.
Travel. So that when you come back, you give me a bow tie.
It's just the economy is hard, so we can't get there. No, I'd like all of us. Now, I'd like your comment on the altercation between it wasn't really an altercation because exchange of ideas between
alternative ideas.
Sowore and Peter Obi. I'd like for you to quickly analyze Sowore's, a message out there, and then juxtapose it with Peter Obi's message.
Okay, so, very important and explosive,
yes.
And the fire that the NBA conference was probably gunning for when they organized this debate, right. It didn't disappoint. Now, Sowore had come out to say that he had always been, in fact, of all the candidates, he's been the one who has said for the longest that he would not remove subsidy. And his argument is that subsidy in Nigeria subsidizes the rich and there's no subsidy for the poor. And that is what this administration has done. He spoke very well, but the thing about what he said, and a lot of the things he said, very fiery, very determined, is what Amaechi described as don't play to the gallery. Because what we talk about is don't just say what you will do, talk about how you hope to achieve this. One of the questions I'd like to ask him would be that the corruption that existed, how would he ensure that we do not get back to that or to those dark days where there was a cabal, where there was corruption? And it's not just about we will do this. This is not a luta continua. This is not campaigning or student movement. This is a whole nation, and there are many variables and dynamics and complexities when it comes to this conversation. And so, yes, I understand where he's coming from, and I do agree with him that if you look at it very largely, and that I think Atiku Abubakar also leaned towards that a lot of times when we talk about these subsidies, we have looked at the boom in the oil and gas industry, more investment, we have more companies thriving, but the people are suffering. And so you can understand his point where he says that the subsidy or the removal of subsidy has only benefited the rich. It has also subsidized governors. And so when we look at it, the missing link for the removal of subsidy for anyone who has argued is how it has has had a bad, terrible effect on the people. The same thing, Peter Obi said, but his was different. Yeah. He agreed with the removal of subsidy, with the same aligning with the APC government, but like I said, that's where it ended. His own criticism, and I agree, is that it has not been properly managed.
Yes.
There's no transparency and accountability when it comes to the funds, right. Because if the Nigerian people suffered so significantly based on the effects of fuel subsidy with the untold hardship it's had on the people, then we should be enjoying the benefits 3 years afterwards. Don't forget, President Tinubu had said that 3 years will begin the journey to consolidation, that after the childbirth or the pains of childbirth, Nigerians begin to see the benefits. Unfortunately, 3 years down the line, we haven't seen the benefits. And so we then criticize the manner in which what should have been a good policy or is a good policy has been handled, right. And where the money has been channeled towards. So great conversation, good to hear the ideas, great to hear the alternative options that are available to Nigerians. And irrespective of what we say here, Oji, the most important people and the people that will vote are the people who are watching, the Nigerian people. which idea sounds best to you, but I would advise that it's an informed decision, not made emotionally, not made to play to the gallery, not made to be popular or so that people would like what you're saying, but actually that makes economic sense and would trickle down to the benefit of the Nigerian people.
All right. The fireworks, I mean, really well said, Ayo, really well said. We're going to continue on this NBA topic. And the fireworks continued. At the NBA conference, Sowore warned the audience not to be deceived by politicians who had previously held office and failed, taking a direct aim at Rotimi Amaechi, accusing him of building a rail line in Rivers State that went nowhere. Amaechi fired back, defending his record on the Lagos-Ibadan and Abuja-Kaduna rail lines before inviting Rivers lawyers to show Sowore the projects he built across the state, telling him directly that when politicians are talking, he should close his mouth. Let's take a look.
Where are those from Lagos? There is Lagos-Ibadan Railway working or not? In my time it was working. I don't know what's happening under Tinubu. There is Abuja-Kaduna Rail working or not? What happened? Now, where are Rivers lawyers? Please take Sowore around. Where are the Rivers lawyers who are present? Take Sowore around. Okay. Sowore, I said I built that road. I built this road. I built this primary school. I built that primary school. Sowore, what is your experience? All right, go. When politicians are talking, go to your mouth. Yes. You have the right of reply. Yes.
I like that Sowore took that quite well. Now, this was quite viral. Amaechi was trying to draw a line between those with governing experience and those without, but Sowore flipped that argument instantly, because if governing experience is a credential, the question Nigerians are asking is what exactly did that experience deliver? And I'll take some reactions on X. Good one. Sowore thinks every opportunity given is an avenue for activism when politicians with experience are talking. Who is Sowore? Another X-user wrote, I don't like Amaechi, but what project has he, Sowore, implemented and completed since when he started his political ambitions? Ordinary borehole. Sowore no do. All we see now protests and activism. Gozie wrote, Amaechi was one of the best governors Rivers State ever had. Built roads, renovated primary health care centers, renovated government primary and secondary schools, even police stations. And then finally, Chidi wrote, in as much as I'm not a Rotimi Amaechi fan, he was part of the people that put us in this present day mess, having supported and worked with Buhari for 8 years. But activism is not leadership. Sowore should concentrate on his activism. Biko, Dr. Abati, over to you on this analysis. I mean, this was quite the viral video, and that's why we got a lot of reactions.
A number of foundational points.
Yes.
I made a point earlier, and I repeat it again, that I would like to congratulate the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association that this annual conference in Port Harcourt is getting off on a very good note, focusing on the 2027 electoral process and focusing on issues rather than personalities. There are a number of issues that we all think, I assume, that should be part of the conversation, and that, you know, candidates should come across and say, well, this is what we think is important. And for the Nigerian people, the electorate, to be able to assess them on the basis of their focus on the important issues of the day, whether it is state police or subsidy removal or retention or all the other issues that affect us all. So to that extent, I think, you know, it was a very robust, interactive, inclusive, entertaining session that the Nigerian Bar Association got off with yesterday, focusing on important issues. The second point is that leadership is important. Again, that conference yesterday focused on the idea of leadership. They had the SDP presidential candidate, the presidential candidate of the NDC, the representative of the APM, Donald Duke, representing the People's Redemption Party, PRP, and also Rotimi Amaechi, vice presidential candidate of the ADC, and these were the persons who confronted the public, and Mr. Peter Obi, yes, I mentioned him earlier, confronted the public with key issues and what their parties would do. Now, the devil is in the details in terms of the various perspectives. Peter Obi says the problem is the management. He's not going this time with Atiku Abubakar. He's saying, well, you can remove subsidy, but how you manage it matters. And there's a perspective out there in that regard. Sowore says, well, that the poor in Nigeria should be subsidized instead of the rich. That's another perspective. So you have those different perspectives there that the electorate can consider in terms of that particular issue. Then there was the point about experience, on the basis of which Mr. Rotimi Amaechi asked Sowore to close his mouth. That is not just about complaining. Rail line leads nowhere. Politicians have failed Nigerians. And I think that Sowore listened to him when he asked him to close his mouth, because thereafter I have not seen any other video showing that he spoke after that. However, the point about experience is not an absolute point. You can only have experience when you are given the opportunity. What Sowore is asking for is an opportunity to lead Nigeria so that he can show that he can make experience, he can make a difference. While experience is important, then the age of Methuselah, we have been told in folk wisdom, does not translate into wisdom.
That's right.
So those Nigerians who are saying the issue is about performance.
Yes.
Because you can have an old man who has experience who is very stupid. There are a lot of very stupid old people, but the residual point is about leadership.
All right.
Such leadership that makes a difference. Such leadership that you can measure and say this is the difference it has made. So Nigerians, I guess, will continue to ask the question and to raise the question that the problem with Nigeria is one of leadership.
All right.
And we should take a cue from the NBA to continue to focus on the issues rather than minutiae, or unimportant issues. Because 2027 should mark a turning point for this country to get it right.
This is the point.
And that's why Peter Obi is always going around saying a possible Nigeria is possible.
A new Nigeria is possible.
Okay.
A new Nigeria is possible.
So,
all right.
A future of possibilities.
A future of possibilities. Rufai, in a similar vein, all the presidential candidates were asked whether they would accept the results if they lost, and almost all of them said they would not if the result polls weren't fair. Let's take a look.
You lose the election on January 16th, 2027, would you accept the outcome? Yes or no?
No, if it's not fair.
No, if it's not fair.
Yes.
Governor Duke?
Why should I accept something that is wrong? If I agree with him, if it's not fair, I will not accept it. Other means go to the court. I may not go to the court, but personally I will not accept it.
Governor Obi?
I win.
Lord?
Definitely, if it is free and fair, we will accept. If not, we will not accept.
Governor Amaechi?
There will be no need for the question. We are the most tribalized candidates, if you look at where we're coming from. So we will win. We are not Yoruba, we are not Igbo, we are not Hausa, we are Nigerian candidates.
There is no way we can win if we don't fight. And there's no way we can lose since we are fighters. Yes, we will win. No, we will not accede if it's not free, fair, and credible. Thank you.
Really, I mean, Peter Obi said, I will win. Well, meanwhile, a lighter moment from the conference caught the public's attention with a man who identified himself as His Royal Highness and Oba Rufai Oseni, imploring the presidential aspirants to revisit flaws in the Constitution made the rounds. Well, in that trending video, the Oba also speaks to the character of Nigerians, saying that the Lord said, let there be light, not let there be a thief. Let's take a look.
I am surprised. The question is this. I am surprised.
Who are you? Can you introduce yourself?
My name is His Royal Highness Ọba Rufus Rewiew Ajayi Arilewola II.
Kábíyèsí o.
Thank you very much. I am surprised none of the presidential candidates say anything about the fundamental flaw of Nigerian character in the constitution that we are operating right now. God, when he created this world, told us, let there be light, let there be human being. God did not say, let there be armed robbers. God did not say, let there be insecurity.
Okay.
We know Jesus Christ died in between two thieves. We know there must be more bad people in society than the good ones. Yes, what I'm trying to say is that I want them to say something. Are they going to change this constitution so that we have a good constitution that we say, let there be light, let there be good people, let there be security?
All right, Rufai, I'll come to you, but I want to ask Dr. Abati, because you said it behind the camera, and I want our viewers to hear you say, what is the caveat behind this Oba? Just this Oba quickly before.
The Oba, I think Rufus Ajayi,
yes,
as he introduced himself.
Yes,
he's a lawyer, so, and he's a citizen, so he has every right to say, oh, what will you do about constitutional review? That constitution does not say let there be armed robbers. And there are many Nigerians, from Professor Issa Sage's, seminar essay on the Nigerian constitution up till everybody else. Yes, the constitution, there are many omissions there. But the caveat that I was saying, by the way, was that this Oba Rufus Ajayi is a very controversial personality, particularly his claim to kinship, to being an Oba of the Igbomna in Kwara State. There are persons who have protested that is not a king, but that does not, take away from the fact that as a citizen, he can express his views.
All right, Rufai, over to you.
With due respect, I want to go, that's minotaur. There are people that we don't even know their origin, their academic qualification, and all of that. In fact, they've changed position about the places they work many years now, and they put it on their phones. So what you just said now is minotaur. So you see what it feels like when you were saying,
personalities are also important.
Oh, personality is important now.
But when it's without prejudice to his right as a citizen.
When it becomes somebody else's matter, you say it's minotaur. What you say is that it's minotaur.
It's not minotaur. It's important for public conversation.
So
go and Google it. Google it.
So what we're also saying is that
Google
somebody that said he went to an lawyer in 1999 that is not saying that again. It's not important for public conversation.
Google it. Go and look for surgical evidence or empirical evidence. I don't know the difference between empirical and surgical. It's only on the Arise Money show.
They have brought previous conversations.
Empirical evidence, surgical evidence. Go and look for surgical evidence.
All right, let's have this robust conversation. And I think he actually made a valid point. The Oba talking about the Constitution. I don't want us to lose that, because I think this is one of our issues here. Why didn't the lawyers?
The Constitution is flawed.
It's flawed.
We can't deceive ourselves. We've talked about it many times now. Dr. Abati, we're aspiring today. It was Dr. Abati and I that had that conversation with former president of the former head of state, Abdul Salami Abubakar. And we brought this same issue of the constitution is flawed. I remember the answer he gave us that day. He said, why haven't you people changed it? He said, I've left there since 1999 for you people. You keep shouting that the constitution is flawed. What have you done to change it? I was because we blamed it. Oh, why did you give us such a flawed constitution? He said, why are you blaming me? I've left this since 1999. Why do people change this? And I think that's a conversation for everybody. But let me go back to this subsidy matter. You see, the problem with Nigeria is this, is that there's a massive level of crony capitalism. Do you know, like you remove subsidy or you don't remove subsidy, there's still going to be stealing and crony capitalism in governments. The difference is that subsidy puts money in the hands of some people. When you remove it, the money is now diverted to the hands of new crony capitalists, aka NNPC that removed 7.1 trillion as energy security costs, and they took 50% of their revenue that they were supposed to give us as a country to give to what's it called, subsidy. They said they wanted to clear some areas, and the contractors that are not even Nigerians, that they are giving all the contracts, so they are not enjoying subsidy. So as you read the argument of people like Peter Obi that we'll look at the way we spend the money, there will be a new set of crony capitalists any way you do it in Nigeria, see, Nigerians, Nigerian elites have perfected the art of corruption. That if you go like this, they will block your corruption. They will block your corruption. If you go like this, they will block you with corruption. So they know every way out. And as long as that elite feeds in that chronic capitalist bubble, you will never have a trickle down. It's never going to be possible. What we are asking for now is, how can the stealing reduce? You know, we are very realistic. I'm not saying that there's no way they're not going to steal either ways, plus subsidy, without subsidy. It's how can we reduce the stealing and so more money can trickle down to the people. So that's the bone of contention of all of these debates. The debate now we are now having is one that is brought forward, but I think Atiku has not completed the journey. Because if he says we subsidize producers, how will you do it? That's where the methodology comes in. Because when the methodology even comes out, we'll still even find loopholes there. But the fact that I don't want us to delude ourselves is, for you to think that a country that was built on elite rent-seeking and patronage will change in your lifetime must be the height of delusion for you. All right. What we are just fighting for is how we can release elite rentier system and push the money down to people. I mean, since the time I was the first person to even open, you see, that's why I say the opposition does not even do their research. I was the first person to open their eye to the fact that you are talking about subsidy, but they get 34 trillion in import waivers. Do you see, since I said that in Ayo, all the opposition have been shouting it, 34 trillion import waiver, 34 trillion import waiver, 34 trillion import waiver, 34 trillion import waiver. Up till Friday when I said it, were they shouting it? All right. Go to all their interview. 24 trillion import waiver. 34 trillion import.
And that is the great thing about the advocacy that we do here on television. About it. All right. So that's the point. Yes, we told you, our viewers, that we'll be reading your comments. Ayo, finally, we have a comment from our live feed. And this is from Ojo Steve, who wrote, if Peter Obi wants to retain subsidy removal, there is no point for him contesting but to support PBAT, and that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and accept appointment as economic minister to manage the proceeds of subsidy. I'm looking at you. Thank you to our viewers. What's your comment on that?
That tweet has actually exposed one thing that we shouldn't forget. Being president is not about removal of fuel subsidy. It is a policy direction, yes, very significant, but there are other dynamics and other responsibilities of government. Poverty reduction, insecurity. These, I know the economy is very important, but there are also hugely important issues. Corruption, managing resources, revenue generation. These are salient points. So let us not make, I know subsidy removal has become a dominant conversation, but it's not the only conversation for elections. There are many other important conversations. Before it was insecurity, now we move to the economy. So it's important that we don't say because you should become an economic minister. They also talked about insecurity, looked at state police. There are other conversations that we had. We just spotlighted fuel subsidy removal because it is topical, but that's not what makes a president.
All right, thank you, Ayo. And again, thank you to our viewers. We'll continue to highlight your comments on what's trending.